It's the Big Green Santa!
And we got Bobby Claus!
And Bob Claus, his helper! Look at that festive spirit! My goodness! Love it! Absolutely love it!
Jungle bells! Jungle bells!
Oh, good Lord! The Christmas season has definitely begun, and it is good. How are you, Bob? How you doing, mate? Bob,
right.
So good to see you. So good to see you, and so good to see you in the holiday spirit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you know, let's hope all of your... he's a bloody wanker. Danny.
Well, you ain't...
Biggest little elf you'll ever see in your life.
Don't take notice of him, Danny.
I just couldn't help my elf.
Oh, good Lord. Was he hitting the eggnog already, Bob?
It's just... Danny, it is just not good, you know.
Oh, such a pleasure to see you, gentlemen. It's always so good to see you. I missed you, Bob. Of course, I see Colin more frequently, but I miss him too. But of course, I miss you. I haven't seen you in forever. Good to see you.
Yeah, Danny, it's been a while, mate, and you've been through some hard times since last time I spoke to you.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of months for sure, Bob. But in the end, you know, we're all better for it, and you know, onward and forward. Everybody's been wonderful. Our supporters all around the world have been tremendous, and and it's been a good ride.
Yeah, Danny. Everybody over here felt for you too while all that bad stuff was happening, and you know, I mean, it's always a traumatic time for everybody because everybody suffers, and you know, so do all the animals and birds. They all suffer as well. Yeah, it was a hard time, and we saw some pretty graphic footage of what was going on over there.
Yeah, you know, I know for you Aussies, that's just a drop in the bucket, but, you know, us Americans, we're a little more delicate. We're not used to that kind of a gust coming through here.
Get him every weekend up here in the winter.
Oh, God, so it's good. Bob, how you been? What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in so long.
Well, Danny, I've been good, and I've been busy with wildlife issues as normal, but I've also expanded my spiritual beliefs, and I've got a lot more involved with the spiritual side of animals and what we can learn from the animals in more of a spiritual sense. So I'm just really fortunate, and I'm very thankful that I've been given these opportunities to work with, and I look forward to it now. It's probably my greatest passion now is to get more involved in that side of things. So I'm really hopeful that I hang around a little bit longer, Danny.
Bob, we're not ready for you to go, Bob. You're not going anywhere, buddy. We're not letting you go. You've got way too much work to do here, and you know, luckily, see, no one is at your level, and that's what we have to get everyone to that level of clarity when they start to see that all the time the answers for everything that we've been looking for, you know, all this time, people are taking medications and people are seeing therapists. If they just got outside and got in touch with nature a little more.
Exactly, Danny. That you have actually summed it up. In that I was recently at an awards ceremony, and they made the mistake, I don't know how it happened, that I got an award. I think somebody must have been there and cheated or something. Anyway, at that awards ceremony I met two young boys. One who has got cerebral palsy and he's in a wheelchair, and the other and his brother, they're only 16 and 17. And they're already doing wonderful work with the orangutans in Asia, and I was just so inspired by those boys, Danny. And let's face it, they're our future. They're what we've got to look forward to, and so they were talking about Steve and I inspired them, but by golly, I was inspired by these boys, Danny. And if we can get the young people around the world to work like that, then I think our planet has got a future. I really do.
Absolutely, Bob. It's so important that we target these younger people. I mean, they are a hope because the people now aren't getting it. There's no vision in this generation, this older generation now that's passing through here. And, unfortunately, they don't care what's being left for the next generation. So it's up to these younger kids to get through it. And it's scary. It's scary what's happening out there still, Bob. Look at the situation. Not to bring too much of a negative light to the boys that you just mentioned. But, I mean, back here with the whole Sweetwater thing right now, this issue has gotten out of control with even affecting children. This week, Sweetwater JCs, who hold the Rattlesnake Roundups, made an announcement that they were going to have Santa Claus answering the telephone at their place. And so we encouraged kids who have shown an interest in rattlesnake conservation for Urban Jungles Radio. We've encouraged them to call the Sweetwater JCs and ask Santa Claus to please stop killing rattlesnakes. And the majority of the responses that they got from Santa Claus himself was that it wasn't going to happen. Santa Claus himself told the children through the Sweetwater JCs that they were not going to make any attempt whatsoever to stop killing rattlesnakes. And you're molding a child's mind with Santa Claus. I mean, that's kind of like the lowest of the low. And this is what we have to fight against, Bob, with the next generation.
Yeah, Danny. Look, that type of thing is about as low as they can go. I don't really think they can get much lower than that. Than to use Santa Claus as a lever to actually justify what they're doing. But Danny, these people will at some point in time they will either see the light or they will pay the price. One or the other, Danny, believe me, because there is some big changes coming, and I don't know whether, and I probably shouldn't push my spiritual beliefs on anybody, but there is some really big changes coming, Danny, and there's a lot of people around the world that have certain tasks to do and certain things to be put in place so that we can, as a people, convince the leaders of our country and those people that are making the policy and all this legislation. We can convince them that the actual natural world is far too important to keep destroying as we are at the moment. And I'm gonna do my little bit, Danny, and I'm being tested. I was tested early this year and tested both physically and mentally whether I'm capable of doing what the ancient ones have asked me to do. And I've passed the test so far, and I've actually got another year to go. And hopefully the messages that I get then, I will have the opportunity to put out to the world through people like Colin and through people like Urban Jungle Radio. And this is the sort of message that we have to get out there, that all of us together have to learn to accept and understand that there is more to this life than oil and minerals and just bloody terrible things that are happening to our planet. And once we learn to take care of Mother Earth as such, then we will be well on the way to recovery. Believe me, Danny, that's happening right now. So
I only pray it doesn't happen too late, Bob.
Well, Danny, if you'd have asked me this a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, I would have had a very negative response to it. But because of what's happening, I've actually changed my outlook, and I've got a very positive attitude to it now. And when I see what's happening with the Collins and the Dannys and Ruperts and all these wonderful people that are around now, then I think we've definitely got a future, and our children have got a future. And that's what's important, because our children's children will be ruling this world one day, and my generation has a lot to answer for. Not so much yours, but mine. We as the older people, we as a generation, have actually made a mess of it, and so I feel responsible, as do a lot of others, that we've got to get that message out there to the younger ones. I think it's working, Danny. I think it's working. There is still going to be a lot of pain. There isn't any doubt about that. But all of us have got to have a positive attitude, and I think through Urban Jungle Radio, you've got such wonderful people around you, all those listeners out there, and you've got a wonderful medium to work through. And we must start to put out positive messages, Danny, not just the negative ones. We've got to get those positive messages out there, and we will win. We will win. May not be in my time, but it will be in yours. Believe me.
But that would be amazing. We need the positivity because, that's all we can hang on to right now. Things get so rough. You know it. In this world where we're constantly fighting for the rights of animals, things get so tough that you have to hang on to something. And having that positivity is definitely a breath of fresh air and definitely helps you keep going, because if you let it sink you down, it takes you to a dark place. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that.
It does indeed. Yeah, Danny, dark places are somewhere I don't want to go. And that's part of this thing for the whole universe. We've just not got to talk about the dark places and all those dark forces that are actually out there now. Yeah. We've got to send them love, and we've got to send them light. I know it's a hard thing to do, but that's the way we've got to work it. And I believe eventually we will change their mind. And Danny, those that won't change won't actually be with us any longer.
It's time for the next generation, the next wave to definitely start stepping up and doing something about it, because now's the time. There's not any sooner time than now. This is our last chance for sure. So speaking of positive things, tell me what you're doing going to visit this big gorilla over here that we all love.
Well, Danny, it's always a drama visiting this big gorilla. But I was talking to one of our politicians only a day or two ago, Danny, and he was having some unkind remarks to make about my little gorilla friend here. Yep. And I actually put him straight, and I said, well, I love him. I couldn't think of a better gorilla to have on my side.
You called me a bully, Danny. This bloke. You called me a bully.
No, Colin, a big huggable ape, Colin. Just a big huggable ape is on you.
That's it, Danny.
Call me a bully as a badge of honour, mate. I've got to bully every stinking politician until they change the laws to help the animals. Because being nice gets you nowhere, mate. Nowhere at all. So stuff them all. I'm still coming for them. We're still coming to Sweetwater, and we hope to be over there at their next roundup. The only thing that will stop us is either ill health or scheduling. Bob's a busy boy. I'm a busy boy. If we can fit it in, we plan on being over there with the 500 from Sweetwater. We're going to covertly film every stinking murder and act they do over there. And your guest on there last week, our good mate Damian Mander, Bob Irwin has just joined him with his school's education program, and Bob might want to enlighten you. He's actually seen the program. He hasn't shared it with me yet, but he said it's fantastic. So Bob might want to say a little bit about the schools program.
Yeah, sure, Danny. It's a great educational program. It's actually aimed at Africa and South African animals, because they've got a major problem, as you're aware, with poaching over there. Poaching's a terrible thing, but not only that, but they've got starving children and starving adults as well. And so this education program that hopefully will go all around the world has been done by Damian and Bronwyn and I'm sure many others, is probably the best and the most comprehensive educational program that I have seen in my life. And I think it's got nothing but huge success in front of it. And I'm going to support it 100%, Danny, because I think it's the way to go. And I think if this goes as well as I hope it will, I'd like to bring it to every country around the world. I think every country needs something like that. So that those of us that are a little more fortunate and things have fallen into place for us over the years, it actually gives us an incentive then to help those that haven't been quite so fortunate. And I just think it's a great thing, Danny. So if you get to see it, if you get to see the program, advertise it on Urban Jungle Radio, because all your listeners will love it, mate.
Absolutely.
And of course you will too.
We had Damian on the show last week, Bob. He's just such an amazing wildlife warrior. It's such a relief to know that there's somebody out there like him. And what's most effective about him is not only the fact that he's down there on the ground fighting these guys, but he's launching these other, little lateral offenses with education. I mean, what a wonderful double-edged sword that is, education with, conservation in the field. I mean, it gives us so much hope for a really ridiculous situation that's going on down there right now.
Yeah, well, Danny, that just really gets back to those positive attitudes that I was talking about before. When you have people like Damian Mander, mostly at his own expense and using up all his own time, he puts something like this together, and he's only a young man, and that's why I have such positive outlooks for our future, Danny.
Excellent. And speaking of positive outlooks, looks like you had a lot of fun in Ipswich a couple of weeks ago, and you got to meet our good friend, little Mr. Brian Barczyk. So I have to ask you, what did you think about his long, golden, flowing hair up in person?
You didn't think he's a buff, did you, like Andy?
No, let's not go. Let's not go into Andy's problems. I think we'll leave Andy out of this. Danny, Brian is built a little stronger than me, and he's a heck of a lot younger, so I think I'll leave his hairstyle alone. I think, because I'm older and wiser now, Danny, I don't make the mistakes I made in my young time, so I don't tend to suffer quite as much pain as I used to. Danny, on a more serious note, I thought Brian, what I thought of Brian when I first met him was, I'd like this bloke as an Aussie. I reckon he'd make a good Aussie bloke. So that gives you a rough idea what I thought of him. And I was fortunate enough that he actually came out to Camp Chile, and we actually chased a common brown snake around, Andy. But, because I had these young fellas that haven't had much experience with this, like Brian and a few other guys there, the bloody snake got away. If they'd actually left it to us older guys that have a bit more experience, we would have caught the snake. And I might add, Danny, about 3 days ago, I caught that brown snake. And I relocated him to a nice safe place. And I actually had a chat to that brown snake about these young blokes. And I said, if you ever come across young blokes, don't worry too much about it.
They're harmless.
But Brian was a nice guy, and I think for the whole of the reptile world, he's an absolute benefit. Yeah,
Brian's a major asset. Brian's a major asset. He's so passionate about the snakes. It's really good, and he's genuinely passionate about them. And he is who he is, which is nice to see. So he's a great guy, and I know he had a great time hanging out with you. He's been talking about it nonstop. I had to actually hang up on him a few times and mute the phone because it's like Bob Irwin, blah blah blah, constantly. So, but anyway, no, that's good. I'm glad you guys got to hang out. I will definitely see you next year. I am not going to miss it. If you're there next, you got to come by next year. I'm definitely coming. We're going to hang out and we're going to have a beer.
Well, Danny, I got news for you, young man.
Oh no.
I don't drink beer. I only drink tea.
All right, tea.
However,
I can deal with tea.
However, so I don't ruin your reputation, you can have a beer and I'll have a cup of tea.
You can have a beer with Colin. Colin's his name.
Colin, shut up. Tell him to shut up. Danny?
Have you seen the size of him? I'm not telling him anything.
Yeah, but you actually start at the ankles, Danny. Don't worry about the top part. You can't hurt that.
I thought it was pretty apt about him saying that Ryan Bartek can make a good Aussie, because I heard he's pretty into eating.
Yes, that's true. Brian enjoys a good meal. When he comes up to New York, I know he goes crazy to all the restaurants here, so the boy does like his eating. He's a natural born Aussie, for sure. He's displaced. He was totally born in the wrong country, but I'm glad we got him. You got enough cool people down there. We need somebody, so...
I'm going to tell you about his foundation. That's his new passion.
Yeah, tell me about the foundation. I know there's been a lot of big moves. Unbelievable opening, by the way. The foundation opening with Slash sitting to help you. I mean, I could not think of somebody better to represent a reptile, animal lover. And from what I saw, he was thoroughly just like completely in awe of being around you, which is just amazing. I mean, you had this amazing rock star hanging out with you, Bob, for the foundation. Tell us all about it. I want to know. I was seething that I wasn't there with you.
Yeah, Danny Slash is a really nice guy, and as you probably know, he keeps reptiles himself. I mean, he's been a reptile keeper for a long time, and he also loves all sorts of animals. Pardon me. Sure. And I get on well with Slash. He's a pretty cool fella, But Danny, the whole idea of the foundation, from my point of view, is that while we had the Bob Irwin Wildlife Fund before, it was just myself and Judy doing all the work, and of course I was concerned that at some time when that time comes, I'm going to fall off the perch, and the Bob Irwin Wildlife Fund then will have just folded up and not continued. So a couple of friends got together and decided to start this foundation. So, and my point was that when the time comes, at least there's going to be a foundation to continue all this work about, the sort of work that I do with wildlife issues, work with Colin. So that was the main thing, Danny, and we've got some wonderful people on board, specialists in their own field, and although we've had a long, slow, drawn-out process going through all the government things that we have to fill out, all the paperwork and all the regulations that we've got to meet to form this foundation, and it's been a slow, painful process. It's worse than catching crocodiles, Danny, fair dinkum. And you're probably dealing with something worse than crocodiles too when you're dealing with bureaucrats, So so it's been a long, drawn-out thing, but it's almost come to fruition, and once we get a little bit more time, I think we'll sort of be on top of everything. But we are doing work already, and it's kind of looking like it'll be pretty good, Danny, I think. Yeah.
I think it's going to be amazing, Bob. I saw that you're putting together an amazing team. You're going to be doing good things, just kind of spreading the reach of the Bob Irwin, worldwide. And it's obviously something that we here at Urban Jungles are very supportive of. We want everybody to go check it out at BobIrwinWildlife.org. Stop talking about going away, because you're not going anywhere, first of all. I just want to say that you're not off the hook. You can't go anywhere until you meet me, until I get to hug you or something like that. That's going to make you feel really awkward. So you can't go anywhere yet, so you need to hold off at least another couple of years. So that being said, in the next year, we have a lot of work to do, Bob. We have a lot of good things, and I can't wait to keep seeing you do it. You're just, I can't continue to tell you what an inspiration you are to everybody here in the U.S. We follow every one of your moves every time you're in the paper, whether you're getting arrested or having parties with rock stars. We're following you, Bob. We love it, and we love you.
Danny, look, I would absolutely be thrilled if you can make it to Australia next year would be great. And if you don't add an extra day or two onto your trip to come out and stay at Camp Chile, then I'll be pissed off, Danny. And
I wouldn't want that.
I'm not a very happy camper when I get grumpy, Danny. So, that's something you've got to do. And my talk, if Joy asks me, of course, at Scales and Tails next year, if that eventuates, will be on the spirituality of animals. So I'm going to come out of the cupboard, Danny. It's not something that anybody that I know talks about especially in public, because people want to quickly race for the telephone and ring the funny farm and have you checked in when you talk about that sort of thing. But I think it's important. I think it's important for the future of all our beautiful creatures out there, and I think it's important for our land and our oceans. And it's about time somebody got out there and started to talk about it. Whether people think you're crazy or not, I think it's time, Danny. So that's what I'm going to be talking about next year. And I haven't even told Judy yet, so if she gets to see this before I talk to her again, I'm in a heap of trouble, I can tell you.
We love you, Judy. We love you tons, Judy. On a serious note, Bob, no, that's amazing. And don't worry about what other people think, because, look, I'm not a religious person.
I don't.
But I know you don't. And that's great. And that's the way to keep going. And I wish more people had the ability to do that, because I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. And I know for a fact.
I'm not religious either, Danny.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know.
Yeah, I'm not religious either. And you cannot. Nobody can combine any sort of terrible things that have happened in the past. Nothing terrible happens with spirituality, Danny. We don't have pedophiles in spirituality. We don't have those bloody nasty wars that are going on around the world. Guess what starts most of those, Danny?
People themselves, not the religion themselves. No, but Bob, my point is that I want you to know that we appreciate that, because no matter what, even if you don't believe in religions, spirituality is a very personal thing to everybody, and it's a personal journey that you went on, and you sharing that with us alone, I think is going to be enough for everybody, whether they've achieved that consciousness or not. I think everybody's going to respect that just based on the fact that that's your personal spiritual journey, and you're willing to share it with us, which, will offer so many people a guidance in one way or another, in ways that you might not understand, in ways we all don't understand. But whatever it is, whatever it takes to cause that consciousness and awakening, thank you for sharing that with us. We need it. We need anything it can take, and I definitely look forward to hearing about it for sure. Even hang
Good
out.
on you, Danny.
I'm not going to ambush you, Bob. But what do you think about that wanker, that absolute dickhead, that said that the people that keep these exotic animals inspired by Steve? What do you think of that shit?
I was going to keep it positive.
Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to keep it positive, but I'm
On
not.
Facebook, that jerk.
Colin and Danny, when I saw that and I read that, and I just laughed, and Steve would laugh too. It is not worth getting upset about some crazy clown who has got nothing better to say, and to blame Steve for something that's some individual's thing. And Danny, that was reinforced to me when I spoke to you a little while ago about these two young lads doing the orangutan. They were inspired by Steve. They were inspired to do what they're doing by Steve. And they were excited when they knew that Steve's dad was going to be at this presentation thingo. And so Danny, Steve in actual fact would just laugh it off, because he would be so pleased that if he doesn't achieve one more thing he has achieved 2 young men to go out and save orangutans. And that was because of what he did. And that says it all for me, Danny.
Well, Bob, I just want you to know that I feel compelled as an American to apologize on behalf of that person's words because it was offensive. Well, wait, I just want to tell you, it was offensive to Americans because he was saying that, you know, we don't have any free will of our own and you know, we do things without thinking twice about it. And that's not true because I will not in any way negate the fact that Steve has influenced people without a doubt. There's no doubt. But how he has influenced people has been in a way that no one ever on TV or anywhere else in the world currently doing anything will ever touch people because nobody has, maybe the spirituality that you just gained, Bob, is a part of it, but nobody has the ability to touch people's souls like your son did. And for that man to go on a tirade like that and think that he can represent Americans in his way of thinking is absolutely wrong on every level. And I am personally insulted by that because I take any insult to Steve Irwin or Bob Irwin's name as a personal insult, as do millions, Bob, millions of people around the world and Americans. And for that guy to go out and say that was absolutely wrong. So I just want to tell you personally that I can tell you the influence of your son is way greater than any idiot on TV today could ever hope for and will always remain deeper and more profound in people's souls than even religious leaders. You need to understand that. So for an idiot like that to go out and talk is completely out of place, and he has no place saying that, Bob. Steve Irwin, as yourself, are just, you know, are untouchable to us here in America, and you need to understand that.
Well, Danny, look, I didn't really take, I didn't take a great deal of, offence at it. I don't think Steve would. In fact, I know for the fact that Steve was laughing about it. And Danny, that gentleman that made that statement, he's probably sorry now that he made the statement. And I just know that Steve and I, and well, particularly Steve, has got so many millions of friends in America and that have followed him all those years. And I don't really think it's worth worrying about. You know, there's a lot more things out there, Danny, that we need to do than worry about some person that's made a mistake and said something that they probably regret now. And let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it alone, Danny. It's not worth worrying about, mate.
Absolutely, Bob. Absolutely, without a doubt. And on that note, Bob, what can I tell you? As usual, it's such an amazing pleasure to speak with you, and I can't wait to see you and harass you in person. All I can tell you is be careful sleeping in the same roof, under the same roof with this guy for your own safety, Bob. I worry about your safety. You feel okay? You feel safe with him?
Danny, I've got my bedroll out on the road. It's I would actually feel safer with the cars, all the traffic, than I actually feel in the house. So I'll be out on the road, Danny, and mate, it is really good to catch up with you. And don't forget, you've got a date at Camp Chili next year.
I look forward to it, sir. Thank you so much for everything, Bob.
Good on you, Danny. I just like to say to all our Urban Jungle Radio friends, look, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and have a happy New Year. And please remember that whatever we do to the planet, we will eventually do to ourselves. Have a good time, everybody.
Yay, Bob! Woo, perfect.
Thanks, Danny.
All right, Bob, thank you. It's good to see you, brother. Thank you, and have a great time. Colin, thank you, brother, and I'll talk to you soon. Where'd you go?
I know, buddy. I'll catch you again. I'm cooking his tea. I'm a man bitch. I've turned into